We need for do the things where they make we happy, things where they make we glady, things where they make we push this country go before as a people. It just don't show that the cemetery. We all get people who really do under we all get famble. Man, you say we die, depend on who side they. I'm saying like King Thomas, Session Town or Lumley, and some people then they not so side them born and they bury themselves. And some people they with by force something at Eastern they don't move go and they die and they then they bury them. So we all get a responsibility. Council gets a responsibility for take care of the cemeteries, but now we self they go to it or and the burying ground them. Now we the people them. We don't normalize that and think say it normal. You know go rest in peace. So if you don't make other people rest in peace, you say no go rest in peace so you die. But I just think say we need to start a conversation about how do we move these cemeteries out of Freetown. Then don't flop. It's just clear. The population don't grow. New communities, how do we cater? Not so for sell the land, no more for billows. Remember, so you get for die, you picking go die, you fumble go die. Who say for Beram? For starting conversation, and there as much as we talk about creating new localities. Again, we religious leaders them. Una for talk. People they listen to now. Them politicians they not over with them campaign no more. Una give them mic, then campaign. Una tell them say una want new bearing ground, water, lights, and everything. So this morning we can talk about a bit of the business sector. The things and where they make. We all sit on here because it's about the economy, investment, tax, and all of that. So this morning I get the pleasure for welcoming at the studios Sebastian Ashok Katai, I hope I get that correct. Now the managing director of EcoBank Salion. Good morning, Sebastian.
Good morning.
It is a pleasure having you.
Pleasure
We get
mine.
bank MD for cancel you in the morning. You feel good, say, even if you left, you go get hope for get some business with them. So that's the that's the hope. I get my good friend, we residence tax experts, Alfred Akibo bet. I can say we want to talk about tax, no much you for pay, which you for pay, when you for pay. And I don't tell Alfred, I say the bet farm has been very helpful in even me as a journalist for understand how they can simplify the Finance Act, the major things seminar. Sometimes the document in bulk can understand certain things. I can look forward to how bet farm they simplify them for me I understand as a journalist, and I'd imagine how the business people will understand that as well. Good morning, Alfred Akibo Bet, and welcome.
Good morning, Lamana. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, when we start here, we'll begin look at the tax, waiting for pay. We begin say, waiting go left with we, waiting go left with. But we can talk to Alfred about how we tax policies them, whether then they support private sector investment. It's very important because over the weekend I talked to a friend say the only thing where we go able to address one of the things that we go address with problem in Salona if we create a private sector investment, a conducive environment, and create jobs. Now when people get jobs and get work, then they able to buy, then they able to pay for tax as well. So we can't talk about that. But last time
For that, EcoBank has always been really focused on having a balanced approach towards the way we do business. So we don't only put money in financial instruments, but we actually lend into the real economy. Today we have total loans of over a trillion leons, and that largely goes to various sectors within the economy. In terms of what we're doing with government, we're supporting quite a number of government agencies in collecting revenue. So we have partnerships, for example, with SLRSA. We have partnerships with ETSA. And in addition to that, we actually do finance them as well to be able to invest in capital equipment that they have. Of course, Alfred, we are also a major taxpayer within the economy, so we make sure that we fulfill those particular obligations that we have. But we also work strongly with the private sector. We try to bring financial inclusion to the doors of many. We have a partnership with a number of fintechs who operate at the very bottom of the pyramid. where we provide them with processing capability, and then they actually go down to customers outside Freetown at the bottom of the pyramid and provide them with banking services. In addition to that, we've been taking a leading role when it comes to digitizing financial services, because if you realize Sierra Leone has a very young economy, and many of these young people are used to doing banking in a very modern and digital way. So we're driving that with all our products. All our products are available digitally, and we think that that is a major support to the economy.
Data clearly shows that, people getting into the banking sector is still very low. People who own a bank account with any of the banks is still very low. Accessibility perhaps is a challenge as well, or even the culture of keeping money in the bank. How much are you approaching that, getting more people believing in the banking sector and keeping money, whatever little, to the banks?
I think
or specifically EcoBank.
Yeah, the first thing is to be able to really reach far into the economy. So even though EcoBank has 7 physical branches in Sierra Leone, we have over 200 agents who are spread out across the entire country in all the provinces. And these agents are actually going to people on the ground and offering them banking services through our network.
And with expansion, there was this idea about how do we get the banks to the local communities? You talk about financial inclusion. Farmers, we have a lot of people who are getting into farming. They are in communities, perhaps hard to reach communities. How do you get, say like farmers, how do you support them or get them, involved in the banking sector as well?
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up. So we've started an initiative where we are working with a fairly large group of farmers in Kenema, and we're helping to bring them together in a cooperative form. We're supporting them to actually have their cooperative registered, and then we're providing a lot of financial literacy, financial education, and financial support to them. First of all, helping them to be able to save, helping them to be able to make payments through the system, and then that will help them to build a track record where we can then actually start also lending to them. So I believe that this partnership that we're having with these farmers in the Kenema area is really going to lead to substantial inclusion of many of them into the financial sector.
With farming now, yesterday I was just watching a video of a young guy in Bo. Someone shared it. A young guy in Bo who do packaging with farm products, pepper specifically. He was at the stadium. There was a match, at the Bo Southern Arena. And he was there advertising his product. Someone captured him and shared it on Facebook. How do you support small and medium enterprises? People like that guy who wants to package a product from the farm, but needs some money from the bank with some, low interest rates. He or she will not be crying about paying back. How do you support that sector?
We do that. Contrary to what some may think, EcoBank is not only supporting big companies in the economy. We actually have a whole business division dedicated to small, micro, and medium enterprises in the country. And in addition to the EcoBank that we all know, we also have EcoBank Microfinance Limited, which also reaches out and supports people with very small loans if they need. You need 1,000 leones, you need 2,000 leones to buy some materials, to do some work. We're there to be able to support you. But beyond that, we are actually there to support these small companies in how to manage themselves properly so that they can actually approach banks and be attractive to banks.
What are the interest rates? Are they favorable? Are they things that they will think, I prefer going to EcoBank than going to another bank, so I won't be worried about paying back or even being chased to pay back?
So the interest rates are better if the borrower is well organized, which is why I was saying for us the primary thing before we rush to lend money to people is we support them to be able to organize their businesses properly, have books, not take excessive risk, and then we bring them up the scale to a level where they can actually be able to take loans and after they take the loans, we help them to monitor their businesses so they can pay back.
Okay. We'll come back to you, Sebastian, and see what are the opportunities and what perhaps we are SMEs as well, what we could tap into. What are the opportunities? Alfred, once more, welcome again. And, you know, you meet to talk about new localities in Freetown. You're not Freetonian. I'll definitely start by asking you that question about what do you yourself think, you know, as a resident of Freetown, and somebody will get history with leadership in Freetown City Council and all of it. What are your thoughts about creating new localities? Government don't say it's about providing service delivery.
Yeah.
And the mayor say it's about taking the history and the future of this city away from, you know, by dividing the city. What are your thoughts or opinion on that? On the proposal?
When the history of Freetown begin, obviously we were born, but I remember, I think I was like 6 or something like that day when my daddy became mayor. And I remember running around the city hall and obviously get strong connections today. The old city hall we born. We obviously
you ever be mayor?
No.
You know, get intention.
Not to that the
Now you mentioned. Anyways.
But for me personally, I think it's a big no. And a big no in many senses. I think historically, Freetown are one of the cities that way in Africa where get strong history, right? From the freed slave to Kanto, which would always don't know about Freetown. So we don't, not necessary for let we just wipe away that history there. But when we come to economically, the sector are there. I think that when you bring all resources together in one city, then the city obviously is stronger. I think that's one very, very important thing, Dandy. I don't involve with city council also, pass some work they want to do. So I do some work for the UN agency, UN and CDF. And one of the things that we try to do now for improve water and sanitation of the city. And also to watch also the revenue aspects of them. And one of the challenges that we obviously will get, why even Yaibi talked about earlier on, was how new localities, the way they come up, how we ensure, say, we get proper water and sanitation. And we all know say that in a big challenge. Meeting I built up area along Wilkinson Road, and where first moved the 15 years ago, we always did get water. But obviously that water supply they reduce because it means say you get more and more people in the city. But that don't mean say other cities like in London or the New York them, they get increased number of people in there. But how we able for support the city council for raise revenue, I think that is very, very critical. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, we get a new property tax system. And if we also look at holistically, not only Freetown, but if we watch between local governments and central government, if we even watch the tax side, if local governments, them not only in Freetown, but also all the big cities, them, if they're supported for let able to collect a lot of revenue, waiting that they go do, then they go help for let reduce the strain on government resources. But then they mean say investments needs to be be done. You know what I mean? And it's not only the city that can do it. So if we begin to say we divide things, then you have more responsibility. But
government, they clarify, they keep saying it's not dividing Freetown. It's creating new localities where you go say, I've been talk about cemetery, Jiso.
Yep.
You get Eastern, you get a locality there and get some leadership there. We get certain a division, go concentrate in providing leadership for that area there. Freetown still be as it is. It's Freetown. The name won't change. Central, Western, Wilkinson would get to your leadership and locality and area. Then the argument, I had the Minister of Local Government here the other time, he was saying it's more about providing effective service delivery, like you mentioned, water and all that.
But effective service delivery is still being done under one locality. We're not still divide the salon. We divide salon and get 2 different salons because we think that the country they expand or you get more localities. So why do you want to divide the main city? I think it's more about bringing more resources together. Why we talk earlier on about the water project we try to do. If you able for Branca at one port and the city also, when you even look externally, let's say as a city itself, if the city itself want to take a loan from a development agency It means the resources and together much better than when you divide them. So all the issues in it, but it's my strong personal view that the city shouldn't be divided for the history and also for the economics of it. But that's my view.
Let me talk about quickly. We come to the other issues about tax. Collecting revenue for Freetown as well. Like you say, you don't work with them closely. What's the fundamental challenge? The mayor most times they talk about generating revenue is a serious challenge for council.
Well, initially, one of the things the way the bigger challenges with then starts, especially the new property tax system, was that around the time of COVID, and central government, be they say, let it not collect that tax day. But obviously, other taxes were collected when it came to national level. So then began that day. And I think that a lot of people, they need to pay property taxes, which is obviously a big challenge. If they're able to succeed, and it means say they need close central government collaboration relating to that, because not to the normal over Duam, especially the investments. And because when it comes to revenue, if you watch them at the national level, not only in Sierra Leone, all over, you need lots of investments in collecting revenue, investments in publicity, investments in enforcement staff, investments in systems, like we say computerized systems, etc. And when you're able to do that thing, it means say revenue collection will be more effective. So what I really think is the challenge is the fact that the biggest revenue source, a lot of people in they pay them, but much investments not be done in that area. And I do think that the investments in that area, they know so cities go for doing, because then basically they take away, they basically not get enough money for make that machinery they do for run. So you need to put a really strong machinery in. If you put a really strong machinery in, you get for invest money inside it.
Okay. Well, we hope the authorities and the listen. This is a debate we'll get, because it's good we look at the economic angle of as well, because according to the Minister of Finance, now one of the people who will go advise the President whether we need new localities, because he gave a look at the financials as well. Right now, councils and the struggle about subsidies, so it's good that we look at a different perspective, not just. But the problem we get about everything, it's been politicized. It's APC, and I can understand sometimes we experts them like can find it difficult for weighing on some of them conversation in day, because quickly it go down to APC, SLPP. But it's good we get development expert them, urban planners, waiting and think about this as well. So therefore continue that conversation. But that brings you into the issue of whether we policies them. They support private sector investments. Very recently, you also are the Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Nasalo. Now the West Africa Tax Administration Forum, you call for fair, simple, and performance-based tax policies. What the idea of this? And Sierra Leone as a country, do we have fair, simple, and performance-based tax policies?
It's not a yes, it's not a no. Early on, we you and Sebastian begin talk about how the private sector is the most important sector. I guess something that we'll not keep watching that way. We all keep watching like so we always get for the wrong go to government. But if you get any country where the private sector they work, we always see what's in happen in developing countries. You see how America they try to protect their industries and all that, or everybody they try to get protectionist policies because of the private sector, because obviously where the private sector thrive, it means money in the country. It means if we're able to get good manufacturing companies in our salon, they're able to supply other side we means other countries then basically they pay with wages and pay with taxes because obviously things are being produced in Sierra Leone. But we have the flip side of things in the sense of saying we they import more. So basically all the way to the end they basically go out, which is not good for our development. So the private sector is important. The conversation and the presentation where I do now the West African Tax Administration Forum mainly focus on saying that on one hand, it is the most vital thing is that tax policies them not for only they watch the money they can inside. Not only for Sierra Leone, but many West African countries or African countries then because while they work across the continent, the concentration obviously you want for bring money in. So most of the time they bring tax policies that they watch the money side of things. But the money side of things also can affect, for bring money can affect the private sector. One thing that is important to know is that the private sector is supposed to pay because that's how government will get money. And governments always challenge the fact, say, how do you balance that in terms of bringing money in, but also ensuring, say, the private sector no suffer. Let me start with the different taxes then, the import taxes then, for example. Many people will say, well, we import taxes are high. Not necessarily so say the import taxes are high as a percentage, because we compare across the West Africa, we get a common lifestyle tariff now ECOWAS, so it's basically the same. But the challenge we'll get is that if we have, the good thing is that, and I'm talking about will be the fact, say, we leon not depreciate for the past 2 years, which is a blessing, right? But when we had the big depreciation of a leon about 2-3 years ago, then they caused a lot of effects, because when you calculate import taxes, you calculate as a percentage on the value of the thing at the currency. If you bring things in currency and they're on a dollar and the leon basically the slide, then it means naturally inflation will go up. Great thing is that the Bank of Salon do a great job for the past few years. We see how the inflation rates actually go down, because mainly the leon they depreciates over time. So when you look at denting and you watch, say, not only the taxes they'll get for watch out, but also the other economic factors them for ensure, say, number one, the leon not depreciates for things and they go up that way. But also supporting different sectors, especially the manufacturing sector. And supporting the manufacturing sector not only by the tax policies that they inside, you get to do with energy costs. The way we obviously a big challenge for we, because obviously we not get enough electricity, so it means say they get buy fuel and all, and even the fuels itself with the import them. If you look at other taxes that we get like income tax, etc. Also, if you look at the rates them, not that high. So it means say people will say, well, yes, high reach other countries, but people then obviously nobody know how to pay tax.
Yes, and we get plenty tax we pay.
We get plenty tax they pay, but the plenty tax they pay, as I say, when you watch them across board, not so like I say, then they pay in another country, even to we neighboring countries, right? But the other thing also, we I think say the conversations the way we get to the West African Tax Administration Forum. When you look at tax policy is supported by one thing, which is tax administration. And tax administration are the way how they collect the tax. And when you make it much more easier for businesses and for pay taxes, it means say than the better. So NRA implementing to get a tax administration system in 2021, we obviously improved the way how we file with taxes and pay with taxes. So that they reduce the burden. So we don't want a situation where, okay, well, who they do and through the system now, NRA will say, no, well, let we begin to paper returns. That's obviously not will be a good thing. I don't think they will ever plan to do that. But when we look at the banking sector, right now we know for pay with taxes and through online system. We still get for check or we get for write a letter and all. But if the bank in the national switch, obviously they improve, it means people go online, you don't submit your return, you also pay online. So that need able for improve the system. But looking at the policies, then we will actually the actual policies and the conversation. One of the points I've been making at the West Africa Tax Association Forum is that if I forget incentives to government to private sector, and but one hand also you get for what say the incentives they not kill the revenue. You know what I mean? Because if you give broad-based incentives, whether na local businesses, whether na foreign businesses, which a lot we tend to give not only in Sierra Leone but tend to give in across the continent for foreign businesses, it means you kill the revenue. So what's important is that if we give tax incentives, we get for make the tax incentives there align with we national development policies and other factors. So for example, let's say incentives to a sustainable future of Sierra Leone. It means say we get electricity challenges. So if we want to improve renewable energy, so Salona one country where we get exemptions then for solar products from 2016 to 2023, that was removed, right? But if we say we want for bring and come back, we get for know which impact then they go bring come. In terms of saying, okay, we want to ensure say if we want to rely on the grid, we want to make people able to get cheap solar. It means we get for say, okay, we want them for this particular period of time. We get for study how this get for work, and we get something with the a period we'll say with the stop them. And in Kazakhstan, they get a system wherein they always go to analyze the impact of the incentives the way they give. They don't just give no more for 100.
So person no go abuse them.
Person no go abuse them, but also if any of them meets the development goals or the reason we make them put them, they go pull them and put another one. You know what I mean? So affordable housing. Now Salok one for expand. I think the local housing and now one part the main one that we don't get for maybe past 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
We all know say housing a challenge, especially about affordable housing. So if we want to bring down the Ghana, Usai Sebastian Como, then get tax incentives then for company the way go bring affordable housing. So I think it's tax incentives that we actually very strategic, and we go actually meet the goals that we want, but not a broad-based one and just to give everybody we basically go erode the tax revenue.
The vice presidents have been one of the speakers. I just read something which he say. He say during the opening session of the forum, I emphasized the need, especially in Sierra Leone, to improve the tax administration architecture. I call for increased transparency, scaling up of digital tools, and regional coordination to support our domestic revenue mobilization. You don't work at this sector. What's in our problem? Is it about mobilization or transparency, in the tax business?
It's none of them. Obviously, you get, possibly you get a system where challenges are not there, power lengthening and there. In terms of tax administration, so one tool the way IMF gets where they call a tax administration diagnostic assessment tool, they watch 9 main areas. From registration to risk management, etc. I've been in the space for 20-something years now, and I know say waiting they happened 5 years ago, now much better, right? You get a computerized system to ITAS, you get an electronic cash register system and all, but all the systems need improvement. So you basically get maybe the first versions of the internet. The Asikuda, you get a second version of Asikuda World. And once you continue able to understand how to do things electronically, it means you're able to improve and better. One of the things Mrs. F called for another conference day, it's always better when you deal with human beings and face to face. So for example, if you want a tax clearance, we only say now if you want to tax clearance, you get to actually go through a manual process. You get to write a letter, you get to take 10 people and get to go there, watch inside the system, make sure they pay tax first and all. But if you get a system wherein if you pay tax system, you just sit down at your house and you apply for your tax clearance or sit down at your office apply for your tax clearance. If you don't pay all your taxes, then the tax clearance can meet you inside 1 minute. Basically,
but this is a sector where, like you say, you don't say at this sector. This is a sector we don't invest a lot in, talking about ASCII, plus, and all of that. But we still get these issues. The issues of corruption, alleged corruption, we know they generate more. Sometimes the NRA will tell you, say they don't meet the target for this year and all of that. What's the fundamental problem? The
fundamental things, there will be tax evasion, we obviously not challenge. Corruption, I know we don't see a few issues them in the past few years between them and anti-corruption. They'll be very transparent in actually talking about the corruption. It's also like I said, they put on that day. These things I will not sit here, anybody and I know sits there and say they're not getting challenges in day. But obviously, one of the things that they do recently, now for then again, internal affairs units where they watch issues there. One of the big challenges they also wouldn't get is that people need to file on time and pay on time, which is a big challenge.
And you always
what it means say, well, yes. And if you forget the filing rates and payment rates at high levels of 90% plus, it means more money go inside. But also when you look at that, it means how they're able to invest resources then by tax education, also making the system much more easier for taxpayers them. And when you invest money per anything that will make people able to understand the taxes more. The other challenge before I stop and you come inside again is the fact when people pay on time and also file on time, they don't have enough resources. So one of the things that we people are really talking at the West Africa Tax Association Forum is that governments invest a lot of money in giving revenue authorities the resources for run after the people that when they pay on time and file on time. And if you're able to invest in your revenue authority, even talking about the Freetown issue we talked earlier on, if you're able to invest more in them, so I think it's one of the countries, I can't remember if it was Ghana or so, where they say, Gambia. The former finance minister and the current commissioner, where they say, then they get about 4% plus, and they get 3% of the revenue with the Kaisai. But the more you invest, so something in the way, it not necessarily means not para 3%. So if a new system they can inside, if you have to improve a system, now for throw money for get more money, that's the main thing.
One of the points that we make now that making compliance simple.
Yes.
And some of the things that we do highlight now that maybe the system is difficult and people know to understand how to do it. Well, sometimes they not to evade tax because you don't understand.
Yes.
But how do we make compliance simple?
Make compliance simple. I can give you an example. So Rwanda and also Ethiopia, what they do is that Rwanda, especially, everybody when a new taxpayer, they make sure they educate them, right? So the moment you register your company or your business, as you become a taxpayer, they educate you, which gives you like a good runway in terms of just understanding what you're supposed to do, right? Ethiopia also do the same in terms of just trying for educate all the taxpayers them. And with Ethiopia also they think about now for like get an online tax education system where you actually go take class because that name basically everything they do physically. They have to change that into an online system like some kind of law say school where you could go and once you're a taxpayer. And when you do that, then are one of the most important things. So we'll implement GST. We have been in charge of GST. We'll implement GST. 2010, GST starts, but between the years of, let's say, 2007-ish to around 2009, we ensure, say, each and every person where they register for GST, we do one-on-one education because it's very fundamental for you to understand the basics them. So if that is being done, and obviously then they need money a lot, whether you get for do and through online system or whether people can get for go out in the streets, you actually need money and resources for do them. Then they make let the people able to understand, but also the continuous bombarding of information, right? And I it's guys small in terms of their social media account, they do and all, but they should do more, but they need the resources for do more because then they go open. But other little things then they like some forms that we then get always for the watching form then they for watch if information the way they already get you don't need for us. So it means say people are easily able for get information. Also things like if they submit your GST return, you don't really need for give all file them for all your purchases and all your sales them and all them things and they do it now, but you don't want a situation where that need to happen. So all them little things and then also the digital experience and all go really helpful and you reduce the burden. So the important thing for them and they you watch two costs. One are these administrative costs for the NRA because if they do have manual systems them where people that interact with it means that in a high cost for them. But also the compliance cost for the taxpayer. If the compliance cost for the taxpayer really they don't, so it means they think a lot too much in terms of compliant taxes than the important.
Yeah, okay. Alfred, I'll come back to you. Sebastian, how do you make at EcoBank, how do you ensure that banking is made simple? You know, where I can just walk in and like you mentioned, technology, you know, and all of that. Some of the things is I still need to go to the bank. I still need to fill a form, depositing or withdrawing. How do you intend making it more simple for the customer?
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question. So, as I had mentioned, every single product that we have in the bank today is actually available digitally. So there are very few situations where you actually physically need to go to the bank. But the general consumer behavior has been such that people believe that if you go to the bank, you get what you need faster. But we've provided the digital channels. We've also provided support channels. So if you have a problem trying to do a transaction digitally, there are phone lines that you can call. There are online chats that you can use. But I had also mentioned that we have 200 plus agents across the country. And these agents are also meant to educate customers on how we can actually make banking a lot simpler for all our customers. Alfred spoke about education, and we really believe that education is also important. So we're actually constantly sending out SMS blasts, email blasts to our customers, trying to educate them on how to do our transactions. And we realize that for those of them who do take it up, they don't even come to the banking halls anymore. At times like end of month, where we realize that there are significantly high numbers of people coming, we take those opportunities to actually educate some of our customers that in addition to coming to the banking hall, you can actually do these transactions on your phone, on your iPad, through the agents. We show all the agent locations. And we've also decided now to start putting banking kiosks located in strategic places, some of them close to branches, so that when branches are congested, you can just go to the kiosk and do some of your transactions very simply.
There's this big conversation about the national switch. and also customers and their national identification numbers. How is the bank, handling that? There's a lot of conversation about people not understanding what to do, how to do it, and how to go about it. What is the bank doing to address that? So ensure that you comply with the deadline set out by the Bank of Sierra Leone.
Yeah, so I think the national switches implementation is a fantastic thing for Sierra Leone as a whole, and it will help to make transactions cheaper, faster, and simpler for both companies and individuals across the economy. So EcoBank is fully committed to supporting that drive. In fact, we've gone on a massive onboarding expedition where we actually go out to crowded areas, and we also hold small events where we bring people together and we help them to understand the importance of doing these registrations. In addition to that, we have quite a number of companies that have hundreds or sometimes even thousands of staff. And we are actually working with the NCRA so that we can support those staff to actually get registered in a simple way. And when customers come to the bank and they don't have their registration, we're also able to guide them as to how to get that done completely. We believe that, charity starts from home. So we actually started by home, getting all our 300 plus staff within the bank registered first and making sure that they all learn the importance of it so they can go out there and be disciples of this process.
Yeah, I know you're here for some time. Definitely, you have a timeline, a time limit, to be the MD of this bank. What's your, aspiration with the EcoBank footprint in Sierra Leone? What do you aim to achieve with this, regional or even global brand?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the fact that there is this constant debate between digital services and physical services also plays into the question of footprint and how you spread your footprint. But clearly we have seen that there are certain areas that need some attention. I don't want to give specific names now, but certainly we do plan to expand our physical footprint from the current 7 to some of the key areas where we see economic activity developing. Beyond that, in terms of aspirations that I have, I clearly want to see us getting digital transacting working within the bank at close to 100%, so that most of our customers are sufficiently educated and comfortable with using digital. In terms of national development and working with the government, we're fully aligned to support the government and its development goals. So if it's talking about sectors like agriculture, sectors like energy, we're fully deploying our balance sheets to support customers in those particular areas. I told you about the work we're doing with farmers in Kenema. We're also working with a number of larger organizations that are doing capital equipment, tractor equipment into the country. And in terms of trade, as you mentioned, because we've spoken, Alfred has alluded to currency, stability of currency of the country. We need to be able to be an exporting nation. And we're putting a lot of focus on supporting export sectors within the economy, trying to facilitate the international trade and export financing.
The services sector is also very important in the country. I mentioned earlier small and medium enterprises and people who are providing other services, say restaurant or laundry services. And these businesses, sometimes when you speak to them, they talk about interest rates or loans or services that the banks provide that they can tap into. What are the services? People like me who wants this business that I can run to EcoBank and say, I need loan about this. What are the services that you're providing?
Yeah, so we've got multiple different types of loans for customers running businesses. Like I said, we have a whole business dedicated to SMEs, because many of these businesses that you've described actually fall within the SME category. And we help them by financing either their working capital or if they want to buy equipment, which needs much longer term financing, we're able to do that. We've also partnered with quite a number of development finance institutions, for example, British International
Yeah.
Investment, where we have a partnership with them to support SMEs in the country by lending. So our lending over the last 12 months, for example, has grown by at least 50% in this area. But I also say, before you even start asking for loans and borrowing, you need to be able to collect revenue from what you're selling effectively. It's quite similar to the concept of tax collection as well. We have a lot of products that help customers to become more efficient by collecting their revenues faster. And this ranges from physical collections or digital collections. And we have a wide array of products to support customers with this.
Okay. Sebastian, I'll come back to you. Alfred, how you go assess we tax system presently?
Yeah.
You know, I still reference the vice president. Now the budget hearing, he say, I reminded government officials of the urgent need to generate revenue to propel our development aspirations in the face of dwindling overseas development aid and the worsening global economic outlook. You mentioned that earlier about how everybody they look at how they can support themselves at this time.
Yeah.
What's in your assessment of the present, tax system in the country?
Well, one of the main determinants, one of the things they actually take for measure tax performance, not the tax to GDP ratio, right? One of the main thing that the government actually don't say for the past few years is say they want for hit a target of 20% tax GDP ratio. There was a time, I think, in maybe 2020 or 2021 or something like that, where we reached up to 14%. But we then rebase the GDP of the country, where they actually look at the GDP of the country, and now the services sector actually really expand. When they look at it and they say the tax to GDP ratio now is below 10%. So it means we get a long way for go to that 20%, because even for add 1% or 2% tax to GDP ratio is actually really big. So it is challenges then they right? If we're able to move towards that, it means many things are going to happen. Many things are going to happen, not only in the tax sector, but also in the economy, right? The economy not grow too much for the past few years. Obviously, many factors, whether it's international factors or also local factors, the impact that right? So the economy really need for perform for let that happen. And then they go back to the one of private sector development talk with the talk. So it means if we all put we hand together when it comes to private sector and public sector, it means okay for watch at in there. One of the things that recently will happen quickly is that in looking at tax policies, government does sign a memorandum of understanding through the Ministry of Finance and also the private sector, the Chamber of Commerce, for ensuring now anytime they have to bring tax and investment policies, private sector is involved, which is a big step. I don't think you get that across Africa. I think we now are the first people that we actually don't do that. So it's actually a good step. It means a committee of government and private sector people and go sit down and not like I say private sector people that will dictate what's in inside Finance Act, but they go know it's in inside Finance Act. They also bring a point and say, this way has to go and bulk private sector development. So that's a good step, right? So if you start taking some of them things and you involve private sector in the conversation, it may say that they go help. But I no one follow also just watch and say now because we know if we go up to 20% of tax GDP ratio now that the reason we make with tax system not to the best. You know what I mean? With tax system obviously getting challenges like many African countries but that togetherness and actually all man can hang it now go important for make clear things better.
Is it a point out of expanding the tax base as well, getting more people involved and get more revenue than just limit them? Because most times when you talk about tax, we look at if people can forget, say we self-involved in the system. Are we expanding it, or we need to expand it more?
No, we need for definitely expand it way more. Than one of the biggest thing that we organize businesses that we always grumble. And waiting that it cause say we then don't think they're overtaxed because like I don't say earlier, not like I saw taxing rates and different. But if they're the system and they no more they pay, you go see a lot of businesses that go say, well, me way una they see. Right? Now they actually tax money. One day way they make more money and then they tax them more. So if you expand the tax base, and expanding the tax base then get for do with ensuring, say, people register for taxes, ensuring, say, when I do audits, if I see other people they do business with them people and they win and pay tax, when I go after them, it means, say, when you look at the customs data, we that in a good source of information because we highly dependent on imports. It means, say, you get for the watch them people they import and see them patterns there. If they really they pay, they bring import more thing, and they're not going to import them for private use no more. It means, say, they do business and all that kind of thing. And once you for implement then tax administration measures they say earlier on, improving your risk requirements, improving your audits and all that thing, it means you able for expand the tax base more. But it's not only about increasing tax rates, which obviously could be a big challenge, right? Especially for businesses them. But you for make the tax administration system more effective and important.
If you read the audit reports them, year in, year out, it talks about, even state institutions them, not withholding taxes, not paying back, not paying back. And if you check, it's cut across year in, year out, like I say. And it seems like even within government circle, the other day, NRA gave a go lock heads at the office, say they gave pay them a lot of money. How do we make it better, with then systems and there? You talk about using technology as well. But these are things. Now, banking system, I know you provide services to pay for people to pay GST and other taxes to NRA. How will they get and direct from them services and then with just outside the human and human, transaction they happen?
Well, one of the things that we then get right now under this electronic cash register system, the system actually electronically connects to NRA. So it means as you make sale, NRA actually see them. So one party good thing that you don't improve GST compliance is the fact say, at the end of the month, like first and say, well, I don't make better sales. But what's also important now is that how you then ensure say people that they use their system then they, right? So if somebody put something inside the ECR system, NRA go see say it happen. Right? So it means say more investment needs to be done in monitoring and enforcement for ensuring people that they use them. It also means, say, you talk earlier on in terms of this Bengon business, and we say they go to the Bengon. It also means, say, when people they go na the shop there for go buy, therefore, if they insist say deposit register for GST or for insist say lag makes it's obviously working around, we don't go buy you soft drink or buy something just commodity. Insist like you get receipts, like you get GST receipts, because then they show say deposit put inside the system and then you go assure say that money they pay as tax, it go to government. So I think it's also not only waiting then they do, but waiting we also citizens that they do. But also then get a lot of work for do in expanding the tax base, as you say, which is very important.
Yes, I just want you take me through maybe a bit. Waiting at the tax system, where we as individuals for understand say we get for pay, or we were the run with business system as well for no say, then tax here, we do them, we for pay them to NRA.
So if you're a company, you're supposed to pay corporate income tax as you tax on your profits. And if you're not enterprise, meaning you're not either sole trader or partnership, then it will be a personal income tax. But basically, a tax on the profits you make. Basic accounting for profits. Now basically, you revenue minus your expenses. Obviously, other complication and calculation. And the other thing they're also supposed to pay as businesses, them we actually goods and services tax, not so even a tax on business. It's a tax on consumption because they end up with the final consumer. But what it means is that if you do business to business, if they provide a service, you charge GST. And that other person, they get a GST as input tax where they minus against the GST, they charge somebody else. But the end user, now actually they pay them. We don't need to go inside the mechanics now this morning. So, but goods and services tax are paid by businesses to business, but also it end up by the consumer, and they pay the full 15% where you actually take them through the stages step. So that's another tax. The other tax you pay if you smoke or you drink, or you use motor car, na excise tax. So excise tax, they call it usually a sin tax. When a tax we pay on consumption of things that we government thinks are harmful. Because then they get negative externalities. So government go for use their money then for solve health issues they smoke or alcohol or disorder issues them. They pay foreign travel tax we travel, they pay so those are actually the main taxes then. Withholding tax, it's actually not withholding tax now a collection system in the sense of saying that when somebody provides service to you or goods or services to you, before you, instead of you paying in full money, we withhold some tax and pay on behalf of that person. At the end of the year, that person you own total tax for pay, whether a corporate income tax or personal income tax. Then tax people they don't pay for them, they withhold them. The one way, all the pay will they work, na personal, na PAY, pay as you earn. So you months down salary, government they pull something from them. The rates they come off from 0% for the first 600,000, but they go up to 30%. So then they only deduct even before they give you salary.
Everybody,
well, if you salary more than 600 leons, right? So if you salary more than 600 leons, you're supposed to pay PAY. So it also means say people that they work now we house. People that they work now they're all supposed to pay taxes for them in the once past 600 leons.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they also go back by expanding the tax base. So now one area that the way government okay watch too much, but an area that the way also should be looked at because obviously people that they pay people that they work for them,
whether a driver or comply.
There's very low compliance there. You go mainly watch. You go mainly go after people that we actually get established business system. But all them people that they suppose so that need actually they expand the tax base small, and also let people for no students are going for contribute small to government.
Are all these taxes a burden on the business, especially considering the economy, the number of people they seek services or even able to buy, the population, the rates of unemployment as well. Not a burden on businesses as well. We don't see businesses, they don't start. They can't continue to close down.
Yeah, because obviously when you hustle for start your business, you actually watch for make money, and if you get for pay taxes, that's any problem. So in 2021, and also talking about incentives for businesses, in 2021 finance tax, one part 10 that we private sector actually engage government good one, and government be put about 14 or so policies that will help private sector, especially out of COVID, and one part 10 that we be day inside day. Now for all new businesses, them for the first 3 years they don't pay any taxes them. Because you get for allow the person for equip first before, just like any baby, before you for worker. Because if you begin business and today then say you pay tax, then they obviously a challenge. One of the one they be back now for be help hotels them and any organization within the tourism sector, let them not pay tax for a period of time. So if you watch and target it in and they help them businesses then they, you know what I mean. But I will also say small businesses them usually not go pay boku tax when they just begin, because obviously when some businesses then begin they make loss. But you also go back to the point that Sebastian and make earlier on, one of the big challenges with them business that you can get also, then they keep them books them and keep accounts them. If you keep your proper books them and government say you actually not make profits, then you're not supposed to pay any tax if you not make profits. Yes, you get a minimum alternate tax we they introduced in 2023 and also tweak and small in 2024, where they say if you make a loss after 2 years, you will pay 2% of your revenue as tax. But at least for that first year, they you know go pay tax, because it's highly likely say when you invest in your business, because obviously all that in there on the buy way companies they make there and all that in there una as a business highly likely so they're not going to make profits for the first year. So we're not supposed. But if you not get no information, and I go assume say they make money because obviously they see revenue go advertisements revenue the kind side. But you need for keep your proper books them in accounts from day one for proof say you're not supposed to pay tax.
I think I may have been on the discuss this. We need to get a segment to how educate people about
that would be a good idea.
Important.
That is very, very important.
It's important.
Now we're all duty for
the more people know, the more they understand waiting for do and waiting not for do. And hopefully NRA will support me for do that. Sebastian, we're talking about this sector, and I know you provide services for NRA. You know, there's been reports of allegations of corruption, connivance within the bank and staff of NRA. You know, how do you, protect the system, say, put safeguards to ensure that, what is coming in actually goes to NRA and it's used for the development of this country?
Yeah, that's an important point. Clearly, one of the challenges with people who want to do the wrong thing is when they connive. So when people connive, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But outside of that, it's important that all the participants in the system are following the rules. So we've started to have all the banks with an NRA a lot more frequent conversation on how we work together, how we ensure that the systems are always being used in the correct manner. NRA has actually stepped up, I think, its vigilance in terms of how it polices itself as well. Alfred had mentioned that, they've set up an internal department now that is doing some internal enforcements. And even within the banking system, the central bank has asked that all financial institutions have dedicated anti-fraud desks, also to prevent this type of activity. So it's my expectation that, this experience that we've had will begin to improve. But we also need to be able to show clear deterrence to people who may want to carry out fraud by seeing people prosecuted and convicted through the justice system when they carry out these frauds. Because when these issues happen, at times, people never really get to hear what the end of the story is. All you hear is newspapers putting stories of fraud out there. It's important that we go through the entire process and people see that fraudsters do get punished.
And most times we see that with as well NRA staff. There is one case. The ACC, announced properties they've seized of someone who works for the NRA who's involved in corruption and flee away. But with the banks, how do you let the public know that this individual was involved in this? These are the actions we've taken, either dismissed or either prosecuted. How do you let the public know to build public trust and confidence as well?
So as you know, the banking sector is a highly regulated sector. And we actually have processes that require that every single fraud that is carried out is reported to the regulator. So all this information is held within the regulatory space, not only by the Bank of Sierra Leone, but also now by the Financial Intelligence Agency. So all this information is reported. I guess in terms of putting it out there in the public space, there's going to have to be a conversation so that it's done in a properly organized manner.
Yeah, so the public will understand as well that you acted. You took action, but someone is asking a question. Yeah, say, kindly ask the MD of EcoBank, what is the current market capitalization of EcoBank, Sierra Leone, and how are their business coping with the constant fluctuation in the interest rate? I think the interest rate has stabilized a bit for the past 2 years.
Okay, so when he says market capitalization, that typically refers to listed entities on a stock exchange. Perhaps he wants to know about our balance sheet. So today, EcoBank Sierra Leone has total assets of 6 billion leones. I guess in old leones, you could say it's 6 trillion leones, thereabouts. And in terms of capital, we've got about 1.1 billion leones in capital. What was the rest of the question?
No, he was asking
rates?
about, the fluctuating exchange rates, and I just mentioned that the exchange rate.
We've seen some good stability in the
Yes,
exchange
somehow.
rates.
The question is, how are their business coping with the constant fluctuation in the interest rate? Interest rate, not exchange rate.
Interest
actually.
rates.
Yeah.
So we've seen a significant reduction in interest rates from the beginning of this year, where, for example, you had. If you look at the government sector, you have treasury bill rates for 1 year of about 40%, which now are at about 15%. We've also seen interest rates to customers coming down slightly. It's not a problem for EcoBank because EcoBank has always believed in having a balanced mode of business. We have a very nicely diversified model in terms of the placements we make with treasury bills and government paper compared to customer business that we do. So we've got a thriving business with customers because we believe that if you lend to actual customers, they bring all their banking business to you, you're making all their payments, you're looking after their wealth. it leads to a much more profitable relationship that we have. So even though interest rates are coming down, it's not a problem for us, and we think that ultimately it's actually good for the economy, that people should be able to benefit from lower interest rates to be able to finance the businesses.
Alfred, I will ask you this as well. The interest rates and tax issues, how it help with revenue mobilization? You know, if we get a lower interest rate, which I could get more people doing business as well.
Well, if the interest rates are low, it means a capital less expensive, and with capital less expensive, businesses are able to borrow and expand their business, and then they get direct impact on revenue. So if the way you talk to businesses in a salon, I think one of the things that we all say for a very, very long time is that interest rates them very, very high. And if interest rates and they're above 20%, so it don't be for a long time, it means that they impact the private sector. America last week, actually September 17, I think, they reduce from where the new president is Donald Trump, it only pushed the federal reserve
for
reduced interest rates, and the interest rates come down from like 4.5% to 4.25%, and further reduction likely very soon. And the main arguments in the administration of America they make is that when you have cheaper credits than they for boost the economy, because obviously credit cheaper and then they get impact. Yes, salon or get and they lots and they get impact on mortgages, etc. And people will buy more house and anything and so it means it can't do the same thing also in a salon. You don't also see, and I'll say that in not to me area, but just talk about small in the sense when we get COVID on that QAP, we get cheaper credits for agricultural sector. And it means people will be able to take loans some big businesses and then they actually help a little bit for improve the agricultural sector. So it means if we're able to see, and you get some situation that way, if governments get money, we obviously in a tax revenue they will forget. If they also be strategic in saying, okay, we want to target this particular sector, whether agriculture, manufacturing, and all that, for improvement on them. So if you're able to give EcoBank or other bank and say, okay, well, let's get concessionary rates them for this particular amount of money. And then they go for also help then sectors and they for grow. So some of them government stimulus package then they also really
talking about that, somebody just say something. They say, please tell Akibo if the government wants people, if they want people to collect receipts from the cash machines in the shops, they should bring in an incentive that for every 1,000 jerseys you collect, you'll get 200 leons, like a kind of tax return to the person who paid the 1,000 that will motivate people to collect receipts.
That is true. So when I be in charge of GST, we just implemented in 2010. We get some raffle draw. We get few raffle draw that will be actually ask people and say, let it ask for GST receipts, and it will bring the GST receipts we'll put her inside box, and people will come and pick and people will win prizes. I think we'll do like a 2 or 3 times. So that they really help for motivate. So that's a very, very good idea, and it's something that Mr. also will recommend because we see how they work in the past.
Yes, you know, in you working at the sector, you know, not only in the salon, you don't work in a salon, at the NRA, you're at senior management level and at the sector as well, across Africa. How do we, you know, get things right with revenue mobilization? Because it seems that the biggest challenge what they get. Government still they get, we just see for pay subsidy. I get the Minister of Information, he was telling me, you can't give what you don't have. Governments, they struggle for get money. And one of the main sources that government will get money, natural revenue mobilization. What's in the fundamental problem, which all what you do highlight, what do we need to change and do better as a government with the political will for address this situation?
Well, the political will is actually the biggest thing, right? And you don't see, I don't see for the past, all it's in about the day inside government, you obviously get some political influences and sometimes, but it's not like it's rampant, right? So political will always is it. But I do think that if you have people in government to talk more about taxes, because at the end of the day, whether it's anybody in government, if government don't get money, they don't know for moving. So for example, the vice president saying something like that, it's actually a good thing for let people for know. You're supposed to get minister, you're supposed to talk about that. But when you look at the mechanics of the revenue generation, also in Sierra Leone. We don't talk about some of the things in there. Expanding the tax base, investing in publicity, making it much more simpler for business system, for able for comply, improving internal systems like your audit system, your risk verification system, etc., digitizing more than they go really help, improving transparency and accountability in terms of corruption, and then they also get to do small with some of the things that they say in terms of just like saying it very loud when things like that happen, but also digitizing system, they reduce people, they interact more. Private sector interaction and engagement is very, very, very critical. Not signing an MOU, only signing an MOU, but ensuring that you actively engage. Not to follow with tick box, you know what I mean? Let us go into rooms, let us have the meetings. Let's on tick out to that meeting, they say, well, private sector, be say, you're not supposed to implement this, we implement this. I'll give one example. In 2016 or so, I think, Finance Act 2016, for Protect Buri, you will get excise, very high increase in excise duty on alcohol coming to the country. For one whole year, the amount of revenue we reduced from excise duty was crazy, like maybe more than 95%. Because people basically just left for imports. But obviously, they see rum there, not so. So it means that people will smuggle rum there inside the country. But if engagement was done with importers more, although we supposed to push for let we know they import something in Kalawu for producer now, but Black Label, for example, for producer now, because obviously they get a name and people they want for drinker and all. So if engagements is being done, that then no go be the case. So if you look at all the cocktail of policies and administrative measures, then they go for help for improve the tax system in Sierra Leone.
Quickly, you work at the National Revenue Authority. We've seen, leadership change.
Yeah.
One of the side with a non-change leadership. Quick one. What do you think about the capacity as well? It's important, for get the right people with the right capacity for do the senior we don't talk about.
The current Commissioner General, actually, I would say now the most qualified Commissioner General where it take up the position of being a Commissioner General, right? Because we don't work inside NRA and also he work inside Ministry of Finance for inside NRA. And you actually see that in terms of how she leads, etc. I also believe that people that inside NRA, we don't did it in their experience over time. You just say they know what they do. One thing also I'll say is that the leadership is good. The cadre of staff, you don't get a lot of people that are going to NRA over a period of, let's say, the past 5 years. But what's important is that all the people that are going to NRA need to be trained more for you to understand taxes them more. And what they go do is that when they understand taxes them more, then they go also help, right? I know they have training programs because obviously I interact with them and all that. But if they invest more in them people and it means for the next how many years, a good succession plan actually go did for their things they improve over time. So I think it's a more of the lower and middle cadre that investment it needs to be done more in terms of just improving that.
This is something you can speak to or not. How do we depoliticize institutions like NRA? Say you get people with institutional memory, then they whatever changes, they're still there for provide leadership and help the institution as well.
Well, that is very, very important, I think, across board, not only in NRA, just like generally ensuring that we make our institutions very, very professional. And when you make your institutions very professional in terms of people actually being promoted on merits, that actually helps, because what it means is that then people and they get institutional memory, but also not to be institutional memory also, but then go able for tackle issues them better. So that is, it's a no-brainer, right? I don't need for give an opinion on waiting to actually don't happen in the past. We're also waiting to happen in the past. But if more and more we're more, we really want for make let the country go before, we also need for do that, not only in NRA, but across board.
You get any regret leaving the NRA?
No, definitely no. I think me telling the NRA was, I can still call NRA my home. Sometime 16 years, it was time for me for leave, and I think me leaving the organization actually propel me to better things in terms of what I do nationally. I do believe that I contribute a lot more And I think the shackles of being in government actually also help you. They're able for sometimes for do
But
things
you could have helped.
But also,
you could have made the NIA better.
well,
if you
I
were
do
with
think
him.
I do think that I still make it better in the sense of saying that we're very big on compliance for we clients. We get really, so when it comes to what we talk about compliance rates, we clients then go comply with submitting returns 100%. Payments very late 90s, maybe around 98%. Something away, some one or two no go get money and no pay on time. So then they alone, and then the way we watch actually the revenue they contributes, that's huge. I do a lot of tax education in terms of through websites or socials, and that they impact a lot. But I also think that we also not for things say now where we do inside governments we contribute to government. We could be in the private sector, we can be in the civic space, for example, what you guys are doing, we contribute to actually we country. And you don't necessarily need to forget title for labor for doing that. So I think personally for me, also going out and working internationally, that will give me more ideas in terms of how we could implement things in the NRA. And it also means say people in the finance space, whether the Ministry of Finance, NRA, etc., we get conversations, and so they get intellectual conversations, and I believe some of them in conversations, and they go get some impact, right? I also involve a lot with the private sector. I do work for a lot for FCDO over time under a project called Invest Salon, and then they don't make clear. NAMI, there'll be a main liaison between private sector and also NRA and Ministry of Finance in terms of Finance Act policies. So I do believe that I think that it contributes more now to EVY inside NRA. Yes, I implement GST and all, but you always get for contributes to your country because now whole country.
Okay, Alfred, I'll come to you shortly for a closing comment or statement. Sebastian, EcoBank will be celebrating 40. Should we expect a party?
Yeah, the party has
party.
already started.
Okay.
We start internally, and then we shall spread the love outside to our customers. We're about to have a customer week celebration in the month of October or November, and during that week we'll be giving gifts to our customers and welcoming them in various ways in our premises. We also have EcoBank Day, which is going to be a day we shall set aside again in the months of October or November, and we shall go to certain specific schools, and we'll be supporting them in terms of their technology drive. We'll be supporting their computer labs with equipment, as well as providing them with internet services. We also partnered just last month in an initiative called YSL 100, where we trained about 100 Sierra Leonean youth working in partnership with a UK-based cybersecurity company, and we actually carried out a training program in cybersecurity for a number of youth. So these are all part of our 40th anniversary celebrations, and we'll be rolling them out, throughout the year.
What are some of the CSR you are involved in?
So we've always had a close relationship with the hospital, the government hospital, where we adopted the children's ward, and we do look after that ward. We're also in conversations with the 34 hospital to see how we work with the Ministry of Defense to get some refurbishments done over there, because it's a critical institution. But in addition to that as well, we do a lot of financial literacy across the country with different groups of people, so that we can get the word out in terms of how people manage themselves at a personal level and also as a business level in a financial sense.
I shouldn't keep the MD of EcoBank beyond 9 and the taxman beyond 9 a.m. in the studios. But quickly, why should people watching or listening to us choose EcoBank?
Well, the good thing is we have value for everyone. We've got micro and SME business appeal. We've got a whole corporate division that looks after them as well. We have a public sector division. And we really believe in going out and putting everything on the table when it comes to customer service for customers. So I would appeal to to all, even those who may not be very interested in banks, to at least come and have a test to see what we have to offer.
What's your hopes, for this country? You're here, you in Saloma now.
Indeed.
What's in are the hope where you see, and for Salon, even if you're not there, they think say, yeah, I've been believe say this country could progress and that this happen.
Yeah, we're big on entrepreneurship, and what I would really like to see is that the current youth employment rate is too high. What I would really love to see is young people setting up their own businesses and benefiting from the support that is available in places like EcoBank. Obviously, I would also want to see EcoBank itself within this country rising to the top of the financial services industry. We're already growing very fast. In fact, within the EcoBank group, which is made up of 33 different banks in 33 different countries, Sierra Leone is one of the top 5 fastest growing of the whole. So I'm really quite excited for the future of the country and the future of EcoBank in it.
Thank you so much, Sebastian.
Thank you,
for joining us this morning. It is a pleasure. Alfred, this tax can we can talk about. If I'm looking over, saying it's at the end of the year, and you're getting tax return, right?
Return, yeah.
When they give them back. Yeah, exactly. Which you client them and people them we work with. Do they benefit from that? How people can get that? Again, it's about the information and knowledge about it.
Well, one day will actually, we go say you go be the withholding tax we actually pay, right? And so it means all the withholding tax we other people they deduct for you, you will get and if we take your tax bill, you go for minus out of that day. And then other countries and one of the things we talk even earlier on, we mentioned the expand the tax base. One thing we do now, we actually the law is enough for do is that individuals that we supposed for the file a tax return. Right? And then consider everywhere they file a tax return. The reason they will get tax rebates because you will get some personal allowances that we're not supposed. So let me say if other people people that don't deduct for me money or land sometimes they don't pass what you supposed to pay, then government will forgive you money back. But right now, people when they employ or let's say individuals, they don't form a business, then they file a tax return. They'll get a tax identification number maybe because they want for importing inside the country on an individual basis. But we all supposed to get a tax identification number, and if that is expanded, it means everybody's supposed to file a tax return. So we file a tax return, then it will be a possibility for you to get rebates. But now we need to do them.
But the law permits for doing.
The law permits for everybody supposed to file a tax return. Yes, and the law also permits for obviously if you're an individual, you provide the services they get withholding tax. Then if the withholding tax pass within, you're supposed to pay, you take all your expenses and all, you're supposed to get money they forgive you back. So then it will be a possibility.
The year are they about for end? Perhaps you want to remind people as you can usually do. Waiting at the tax we for pay with the deadlines and the dates.
Well, the deadlines every month you get PSUN and withholding tax where you're supposed to submit by the 15th every month. One thing where people have to understand is that you can file till the 15th, but if the 15th they fall a weekend, you're supposed to not pay by law. With those, if the 15th they fall on a Sunday, you're supposed to not pay by the 13th because if you go to the next day, where it will be the 16th, you don't go for pay. So then it will be a challenge. And that's the reason we make, if you get an online payment system, you can still able for file on a 15 and also pay. So for example, GST filing was yesterday, when at the 21. So some staff they made the text yesterday, they filed for 1 or 2 clients we not send information quick. But the payments are till the end of the month, so that's important. GST also, the filing dates are the 21st, as I say, of every month, and the payments will be at the end of every month. That means of the previous months. So that are the main one. The other one also is that the last installment for corporate income tax and personal income tax on the 15th of December. The one we just passed are 15th of September. So it means if you not pay the 15th of September, you thought installment payments, and also for payment. And when the year done, you actually now take you for do your accounts, right? Especially if you know any business, whether corporate business or individual business. When you do your accounts, you're supposed to file a return day for 2025 by the 30th of April. 2026. And also if you pay any installments, fifth installments, we not be don't pay inside the year for pay and by that. So that the main thing that we always go continue for educate people. If you go on our websites, you go see the information and we socials them. We don't improve on the socials there recently, so it means that we are more active. And well, not so many do TikTok. I mean Gen Z they will get and I can put people at TikTok, but it's good. It'd be just like reaching out more to people. We websites get tax calculator also. If you want for calculates waiting for BU withholding tax, you customs duty, you rent tax, and PAY, which anyone just go put your figures inside there. It all code BN. We get where we are. It's a guy we do one for. We click calculate. It will actually tell you the taxes there and that's it we supposed to pay, which I think is a useful tool for like people who for know the tax that they're supposed to pay.
Okay, thank you so much, Alfred. I think we don't do justice to this with tax education.
Thank you.
You know, and like me, you can always discuss. We need to continue this. The more people know, the more they understand waiting for do, and hopefully we will get some MOU with the Bet Farm.
No problem.
You know,
no problem.
for they do this often. We are your clients as well.
Yes, yes.
Don't just make that disclaimer there, you know. But thank you so much, and help people who they watch you and listen don't learn from this and go continue for learn for waiting for do, because the more people know, the more they become compliant. You know. But waiting I hopes for Salone, you know, as a Sierra Leonean yourself, we all one thing where I can say we always get in common is that we all want this country for before.
I think we also Sierra Leone will be more inclusive, ensuring say everybody believes say they will contribute, no matter we political climate. I think that is very, very critical because we do have smart minds all around. So it means say we'll not forget a situation where anybody feel like say at that particular point in time they're not supposed to contribute. I think that is one fundamental thing. And once we will do that, it means say we're supposed to really, really concentrate and improve business at the country. And improving business at the country also means it's something we're going to do crazy things in terms of just improving our energy, right? We still talk about less than 100 megawatts, but we should be talking about maybe 1,000 megawatts, 2,000 megawatts, because then they go also ensure, say, with minerals, and for example, we always can we for turn them into finished products. So we go really help we country them because you have to actually have value add, and we get value add. It means say more manufacturing jobs, more money. The kind say the country again. It also means say the policies that we get for do with private sector. It's not all people inside government no more they get conversation, but similarly, like for example, me and Posting always say not we man they're supposed to determine what they do it's human body there for bring woman and can to the table. It's the same thing also when we want discuss about businesses. It means we get for SIDOM and bring people and can together. We understand business because if you didn't have public sector, you think about public sector more how for implement policies, but that is very, very important. So I think it's a more inclusive country we want to see, but also concentrating and ensuring say we make clear with businesses that not only do well for Salone, but also able to expand at the region and expand further. The reason they make the America they all great is the fact say we all use the iPhone there, we all use Google, we all use Netflix and all that. So you see down here, you basically they take your money they give to other countries. So what we will do for first internally for ensure say we contribute to the country but also expand out to the country is something that is very important.
Thank you so much, Alfred Akibo, the tax expert, for your time this morning, and thanks so much, MD Sebastian, for joining us. Hopefully we'll be part of the celebration at 40. Now we get sent out this morning. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll come back. We can show our front page for today, the Truth newspaper, and close the devotion. My name is Amadou Lamranaba. Now go ahead, continue for day with we.